The scanner at the ballroom door flashed red against my daughter's wrist. June looked down at the flower girl credential as if the little square of plastic had personally betrayed her. It showed her photograph, her name, and a gold ribbon printed beneath the words ceremony party. She had slept with it on her nightstand for 3 weeks. Now the screen above the scanner said cancelled. Try it again, she said. The security guard did. Red light, one flat electronic note. Behind the gold doors of the Sterling Grand Ballroom, a string quartet rehearsed the first bars of the processional. White roses climbed 20-foot columns. 400 guests were due in 90 minutes, along with a live broadcast that would announce the Cole Civic Foundation's largest education grant in a decade. June held her flower basket closer. Dad, I was the hotel's operations director. I had designed the credential system, approved the emergency routes, and trained the man looking at me with an apology already forming in his eyes. Don't apologize, I told him. Show me the change log. He turned the tablet around. June Hale. Access revoked at 2:14 p.m. Authorized by Natalie Hale, bride. My ex-wife appeared before I could ask the next question. Natalie had already put on her dress. Ivory silk, narrow sleeves, no veil yet. She stopped when she saw June, and for 1 second her face opened with something like panic. Then she looked toward the photographers gathering near the sponsor wall, and closed it again. Grant, I sent you a message. You sent it 12 minutes ago. I needed you to see it before you brought her upstairs. June stared at her mother. You said I was carrying the flowers. Natalie's breath caught. Sweetheart, the ceremony changed. Did flowers stop existing? Even the guard looked away. Natalie lowered her voice. This isn't the place. It's literally the place, I said. Her eyes sharpened. Do not make this harder in front of her. You canceled a 10-year-old's invitation while she was in the elevator. I was trying to prevent a scene. June lifted her chin. I wasn't making one. That hurt more than tears would have. Natalie stepped toward her, but June moved behind my arm. The flower basket pressed into my hip. The Cole trustees changed the broadcast format, Natalie said. Children won't be in the ceremony party. I should have told you sooner. There are 6 children in the ceremony party. I had approved their access myself that morning. Her silence answered me. Preston Cole emerged from the ballroom with his jacket unbuttoned and a phone against his ear. He ended the call when he saw us. Grant. He gave me the careful nod of a man approaching a dog he had been assured was friendly. This is a misunderstanding. Good, fix the credential. I mean a misunderstanding about what today represents. June's fingers tightened around the basket handle. Preston noticed. To his credit, he looked ashamed. It did not stop him. The foundation merger has presentation requirements, he said. My mother believes introducing family complications during the announcement could distract from $12 million in school funding. I'm a family complication, June asked. No adult answered quickly enough. The ballroom doors opened again. This time Myra Sterling walked through them. My CEO rarely hurried. She moved at a pace that made everyone else feel late. Midnight blue suit, ivory blouse, black hair over one shoulder, master key ring in one hand because the electronic locks had been cycling during rehearsal. She looked at June, at the red scanner, and then at me. What failed? It was the question Mara asked in every crisis. Not who, what. The invitation, June said. Mara crouched just enough to meet her eye level without pretending they were the same height. May I see it? June held out her wrist. Mara read the credential, then glanced through the open ballroom doors. A 40-foot sponsor screen filled the far wall. On it was a photograph of Natalie kneeling beside June at a school garden, both of them laughing under the Cole Foundation logo. The campaign line beneath it read, building every child's future. Mara stood. Is that image licensed? She asked me. Not by me. You share legal guardianship. Yes, commercial use requires both signatures. Natalie stepped between us. The release is in the campaign file. Did Grant sign it? The agency cleared everything. Mara looked at her for a long second. That was not my question. Preston checked the corridor. 2 camera crews had started watching us instead of the floral installation. Mara, he said, we can review paperwork after the ceremony. The broadcast window is fixed. A child is being removed from an event that is selling her image, as proof of family values. No one is removing her. We have a private suite prepared downstairs. June's voice was small. By myself. With a sitter, Natalie said quickly. Mara's face did not change, which was when people usually became nervous. She walked to the ballroom doors, inserted the brass master key, and turned it. The heavy lock engaged with a sound that carried through the corridor. The quartet stopped mid-phrase. "Then you don't have a venue," Mara said. For 3 seconds, nobody moved. Then every phone began ringing. Preston's expression hardened. "You cannot cancel a foundation broadcast because of a family disagreement. I suspended access because your event appears to involve an unauthorized commercial use of a minor, a false sponsor representation, and an unapproved live broadcast configuration. Those are contract issues." "And if the paperwork is valid?" Natalie asked. The doors reopened. Mara handed the key ring to Alina Park, our events director. "Until then, no guest enters and no feed leaves this floor." Alina nodded once and began issuing instructions into her headset. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I saw the banquet captains freezing 400 plated dinners, the hourly staff who had built their week around this shift, and the teachers downstairs waiting to hear whether the grant would fund their programs. Mara saw me calculate it. "Don't confuse a pause with a solution," she said quietly. I wasn't. "You were about to thank me." I was about to ask who pays the staff if the doors stay locked. One corner of her mouth moved. "There you are." Natalie watched the exchange. Old Hurt found a new target in her eyes. "Of course," she said. "This isn't about June. It's about the two of you deciding I don't deserve a wedding." "Mom," June whispered. Natalie stopped. June took the credential off her wrist and held it out. "You can have it back." The gold ribbon trembled between them. Natalie did not take it. A lawyer in a gray suit pushed through the corridor carrying a black campaign binder. He opened it on the nearest service table and turned to a page marked "Minor Appearance Release." At the bottom was my name. The signature looked exactly like mine. I had never put it there. I knew the signature because it leaned too far forward. Mine had changed after I broke my right wrist in college. The capital G still looked the same, but every letter after it sat almost upright. The signature in the campaign binder was the old version, copied from something I had signed years before. I photographed the page before the lawyer could close it. "Where did you get this?" He looked to Natalie. She went pale. "It was in the family media archive. That is not a place signatures reproduce on their own." Preston stepped closer. "The agency assembled the releases. If they made an administrative error, we'll correct it." "Forgery is a generous definition of administrative." "Grant," Natalie said, "please lower your voice. June is standing 6 feet away. I would prefer she not learn that adults become innocent when they whisper." June sat on a velvet bench beside Alina, her flower basket on the floor. She had taken out one of the white rose petals and was folding it until it bruised. Mara asked Alina to bring June to the pastry kitchen for hot chocolate. June refused. "I want to hear why I'm good enough for the picture." Natalie's eyes filled, but she kept her posture straight. "You don't need to listen to legal details. I listened when you told me not to call you Mom." The corridor went silent again. I turned toward Natalie slowly. "When?" June answered for her. "At the rehearsal. She said the Cole people call her Natalie, and I should too, just until the cameras went away." Natalie pressed 2 fingers to her forehead. "That is not what I meant." "It is exactly what you said," June replied. "You said it would be easier." I had spent 2 years teaching June that love did not disappear when adults failed at marriage. Natalie had missed dinners, changed weekends, and answered calls from bathrooms during donor events, but I had never told our daughter she was unwanted. I had translated absence into work, sharpness into stress, broken promises into calendar problems. I had thought I was protecting June's relationship with her mother. Maybe I had only made June doubt her own hearing. "We're leaving," I said. Mara glanced at me. "The release. Send it to my attorney. June doesn't need to watch us turn her into evidence." Preston exhaled as if I had finally become reasonable. "If you leave, Mara can reopen while counsel reviews the form." "No," Mara said. His relief vanished. The image remains on the sponsor campaign. The event plan concealed the child restriction, and my company approved a broadcast package containing both. Grant's presence is not the cause of the suspension. Her phone rang. She looked at the screen and answered. Yes, Daniel. Her board chair's voice was loud enough that I caught fragments. Material breach. Live slot. Personal involvement. Fiduciary duty. Mara listened without interrupting. Send the resolution in writing, she said, and include the section authorizing you to order an unsafe contractual performance. She ended the call. How long? I asked. 20 minutes before the board votes to override the suspension. Can they? They can remove my emergency authority if they persuade two directors that I used it for a personal dispute. Natalie looked between us. Did you? Mara held her gaze. No, if I had, you would know the difference. Elena approached with a staffing sheet. The locked ballroom had already begun costing money. Florists were on overtime. Broadcast technicians were billing standby. The banquet kitchen could hold the meals for 45 minutes before quality dropped below contract standard. 412 employees and vendors were attached to the event. We need a containment plan, Elena said, not a moral victory. Agreed, I said. Natalie gave a bitter laugh. You are discussing containment while my wedding collapses. Your wedding has not started, Elena replied. My staff's rent has. That brought everyone back to the floor beneath our feet. I asked the campaign lawyer for the source file. He refused until Mara cited the hotel's audit rights. 5 minutes later, a digital folder appeared on the service tablet. The copied signature came from a field trip permission form I had signed when June was 7. Someone had cropped it from the school archive attached to Natalie's old family profile. The file history showed an agency assistant importing it. Then a note from Diane Cole, both parents required. Resolve without delay. Natalie had replied, I will handle Grant. I showed her. You knew. I knew they needed a second signature. I did not know the agency would copy one. What did you think handle meant? I thought I could get you to sign after I explained the grant. So they forged it first to save time. Her voice cracked. I was going to tell you. June stood up. Were you going to tell me after the wedding, too? Natalie crossed the distance between them. June, I love you. June looked at the voided credential in her hand. But not where people can see. Natalie stopped an arm's length away. Preston's mother arrived with 3 trustees, and the atmosphere of a person, accustomed to rooms rearranging themselves around her. Diane Cole was 63, silver-haired and perfectly composed. She greeted Mara first, me second, and her future daughter-in-law last. This can be repaired, she said. The campaign image comes down, the release is replaced. The child attends privately. The ceremony proceeds. Her name is June, I said. I know her name. Then use it. Diane's gaze moved to my daughter. June, I regret that adult obligations have disrupted your afternoon. June frowned. Is that an apology? It is an acknowledgement. Those are cheaper. Elena coughed into her hand to hide a laugh. Diane opened a slim folder. Mr. Hale, the Cole Foundation will provide a separate education trust for June, pay all legal expenses associated with correcting the release, and restore her ceremonial role. In return, you will sign the media consent, affirm that today's error was administrative, and agree that June's primary residence remains with you for the first year of the marriage. Natalie stared at her. Primary residence remains with Grant. It preserves stability. You told me we would revisit custody after the honeymoon. We are revisiting it now. There it was. The price had never been a missed ceremony. The Coles were purchasing a version of Natalie with no visible daughter and calling the purchase stability. Preston touched Natalie's elbow. We can discuss the residence language later. She pulled away. Diane slid the agreement toward me. The trust amount was large enough to pay for any university June chose twice over. June looked at the number, then at me. Does that mean I can go in? Only if I sign. Do you want to? I closed the folder. No. Diane's expression did not change. Then you are denying your daughter the role she wants. You are offering her a place in exchange for permission to lie about why she lost it. A public fight will damage her more. Then stop making her the cost of avoiding one. The board vote arrived on Mara's phone. Emergency suspension authority revoked. Effective in 15 minutes. Mara read it once and handed the screen to Alina. The ballroom doors would soon open whether she turned the key or not. The board could take Mara's emergency authority. It could not make a forged release valid. That distinction gave us 15 minutes. I asked Alina to divide the event into 3 contracts: ceremony, broadcast, and foundation announcement. The ceremony itself could proceed if the ballroom passed safety and access checks. The broadcast could proceed only after every featured person was properly released. The foundation announcement depended on the sponsor representations Diane refused to correct. So we can host a wedding, Alina said, scanning the clauses, but not this campaign wearing a wedding dress. Correct. Diane was unimpressed. The agreements were negotiated as one event. Then the invalid release contaminates all 3, I said. Separating them is the option that saves the ceremony. Preston looked toward the ballroom. Without the broadcast, the merger vote fails. Your marriage survives. He looked at me as if I had misunderstood what mattered. Natalie understood perfectly. That was worse. She stepped away from June and began pacing beside the locked doors. The merger funds 46 school libraries and the mobile counseling program. If it fails tonight, those districts wait another year. Then tell the truth and ask donors to support the programs anyway. You think truth is a magic word that makes money stay in the room. No, I think it is the minimum price of putting our daughter on a 40-foot screen. You have no idea what it took to hold this together. I know exactly what you decided to let go. June flinched. I stopped. The sentence had been aimed at Natalie and hit our daughter on the way. June, that was not about you. She looked tired rather than reassured. Everything today is about me when people need an excuse. Then it's not about me when I ask a question. She picked up her basket and walked toward the service corridor. I followed her into a quiet pantry lined with silver coffee urns. Through the wall, phones rang and carts rolled. June set the basket on a shelf between stacks of saucers. You can be mad, I said. I am. At me too. I know. She folded her arms. I waited. Mom called last night, she said. She asked if I could stay with you more after she got married because Preston's house is busy. She said it would only be until everyone got used to things. Why didn't you tell me? Because you make the quiet face. What quiet face? She copied me too accurately. Jaw tight, eyes down, one slow breath through the nose. That one, she said. Then you say it's fine and clean the kitchen. I clean when I'm thinking. You clean when you want the counter to say something you won't. 10 years old. Absolutely merciless. I leaned against the opposite shelf. It wasn't your job to protect me from that call. It wasn't your job to make Mom sound better every time she didn't come. There are apologies that ask the injured person to comfort you. I had given June enough work for one day. You're right, I said. I thought I was keeping the door open between you. I should have helped you name what actually happened. Are you going to make her let me into the wedding? No. Her face fell. I can make adults follow rules, I continued. I cannot make your mother choose honestly. If I drag you into that ballroom to prove a point, you're still being used. Then what do I get? A choice about where you wait. A choice about whether you speak to her, and the truth when I know it. She looked at the flower basket. I want to stay until she chooses, even if you don't like the choice. I already don't like not knowing. When we returned to the corridor, the electronic locks had shifted from red to amber. The board override was counting down. Mara stood alone near the sponsor screen, with a tablet in both hands. Grant, she said, we need a private conversation. Alina took June to the pastry kitchen, this time with her consent. Natalie watched them go but did not follow. Mara led me into a small bridal consultation room. Fabric samples and champagne flutes made the silence feel staged. She placed the tablet on the table. It showed the original sponsorship approval from 6 weeks earlier. Her authorization sat at the bottom. "I approve the campaign package," she said. "You said the event plan concealed the child restriction." It did. It also contained a linked family annex. My team marked it cleared. I did not open it. I scrolled through the annex. There was June's photograph. A paragraph described Natalie and Preston as beginning their first family chapter together. Another called June a young beneficiary who inspired the bride's work. Not daughter, beneficiary. "Your approval made this possible." "Yes. Did you bring me in here so I would tell you the agency deceived you?" "No." "Good, because your name is still on it." "I know." She did not explain how many approvals crossed her desk or how reasonable the delegation had seemed. The absence of excuses should have made it easier. It did not. "You locked the doors like you had just discovered the crime," I said. "Part of it was yours, part of it is mine. And you let me stand out there believing you were the one person who had not traded speed for June." Her eyes held mine. "I acted when I understood the harm. I should have understood it sooner. That sentence is going to be very useful in the board minutes. Be angry. Don't manage my permission." Something tightened in her face. She removed her hotel access badge and placed it beside the tablet. "I have appointed Elena incident lead. I will not make further operational decisions involving you, Natalie, or the Cole event. I have also disclosed the approval failure to the board and our insurer. They'll remove you. Possibly. You don't get points for falling on a sword you ordered someone else to polish." I am not asking for points. The answer was so Mara that it almost made me smile. I did not give her that yet. "What are you asking for?" "Nothing. I am giving you the unedited approval trail and leaving the next decision with Elena. If you need me as a witness, I will be one." She walked out without touching my arm or telling me we would fix it together. That restraint hurt in a different place. When I returned, Preston was waiting with a revised agreement. "June goes back into the ceremony," he said. "No private suite. No restriction on what she calls Natalie. We remove her image after tonight and execute a valid release for the single broadcast. And the residence clause. Primary residence with you for 12 months, then mediation." "Why is my daughter's home part of your wedding contract?" "Because my family needs predictability." "Children are not predictable. Neither are adults. Contracts exist anyway." He was not cruel when he said it. He was exhausted, sincere, and completely shaped around a life where every human uncertainty became a term sheet. "Natalie told you she wanted more time with June after the honeymoon," I said. "She did. And you agreed." "I intended to. Until your mother priced it." His jaw moved. "The merger protects work that matters. So does being someone's mother. That is easy for the parent who already won custody." The words landed because they contained a truth he did not own. After the divorce, June had stayed with me during the school week because Natalie traveled. Temporary schedules hardened. Every missed review made the arrangement more permanent. Natalie had lost ground partly through her choices, and partly because stability rewards whoever can stay still. I read the revised agreement once more. "No." Preston's calm cracked. "What do you want?" "For June's place in her mother's life not to require my signature, your mother's permission, or a camera." The ballroom locks turned green. The board override had taken effect. Elena kept the doors closed manually. "I can hold them for 10 more minutes under the unresolved broadcast clause," she said. "After that, I either receive a compliant event plan or I clear the floor." Natalie looked at Preston. "Show me the full donor deck." "You've seen it." "I've seen the wedding version." Diane answered from behind him. "This is neither the time nor the place." Natalie gave a short, disbelieving laugh. "I am beginning to notice how often that sentence means someone has chosen both." Preston said the complete donor deck was confidential. Natalie reminded him. She was about to put his last name on every page of her life. He still did not hand it over. That was when she stopped asking. She walked into the bridal suite, shut the door, and left the rest of us with 10 minutes on Elena's clock. Diane used 8 of them trying to force the ceremony open. She called the board chair, the hotel's general counsel, and a state senator whose name she mentioned twice before realizing Alina was not impressed. Alina repeated the same sentence each time. Provide a compliant event plan. The banquet team held position. Nobody moved a plate. I went to the production office with Alina and began tracing the campaign files. Mara had given us the raw approval archive before recusing herself. The folder was ugly in the way real wrongdoing often was. No single document labeled plan to hide child. Just revisions, comments, and small words changing shape over time. Natalie's biography originally said mother and strategist. Diane's office changed it to advocate for children. A family photograph became a campaign image. June's name became beneficiary. A schedule note marked her for the aisle, then for limited reception presence, then for private hospitality. The final 5-year communications plan had no place for her at all. Preston and Natalie were to become the public face of a new donor network built around a modern first household. The deck included holiday portraits, school visits, interviews about future children, and a residence profile of the Cole estate. One note instructed staff to avoid prior family narrative conflicts. Prior family narrative. 10 years old, brown eyes, missing front tooth in the first campaign photograph. Alina read over my shoulder. You should breathe. I am breathing. You're doing it like the air offended you. I sent the deck to a secured evidence folder and called my attorney. She advised an immediate preservation notice, a civil claim against the agency, and a temporary order stopping use of June's likeness. She also warned me that if I used the donor deck to reopen custody, Natalie could argue I had turned a commercial dispute into parental retaliation. Would she win? That's the wrong question, my attorney said. Would June believe you were protecting her or collecting leverage? I ended the call knowing exactly what I would not do. When Natalie emerged from the bridal suite, she carried a flash drive and no veil. She found me in the production office and locked the door behind her. Preston keeps his passwords in a note app, she said. That is the least alarming thing I've learned about him. She put the drive on the desk. The full donor deck, emails too. You accessed his private account. You can lecture me after you open it. I already found the deck. For the first time all day, Natalie looked surprised, then embarrassed. How much did you see? 5 years. She sat down slowly. He told me the public restrictions ended after the merger. They don't. I know that now. You knew enough this morning. Her eyes flashed. Do you want the evidence or an apology? Those are not alternatives. She pushed the drive toward me. Use it in family court. Ask for sole custody. You have wanted a clean reason to stop pretending I am reliable. Here it is. I left the drive where it was. No, don't perform decency for me. I am not protecting you. Then why? Because June asked you to choose. If I turn your choice into my custody strategy, she becomes currency again. Natalie looked down at her bare left hand. She had removed the engagement ring. You always do this. Do what? Stand there being reasonable until everyone else feels insane. I spent most of our marriage being quiet until resentment became furniture. Reasonable is generous. Her mouth tightened. At least you admit it. I am trying to. She leaned back and stared at the ceiling. When we were married, every bill frightened me, she said. You would say we had enough and I would hear that you had accepted a smaller life. The Coles never say enough. They say secure, permanent, protected. And what did they ask you to protect? The merger at first, then the message, then Preston's future. Every request sounded temporary. June heard all of them. Natalie closed her eyes. I know. No, you know now because a locked door made it visible. She knew at the rehearsal. What do you want me to say? Something to her that doesn't begin with what you were afraid of. She stood, angry again, because anger was easier to wear than the dress waiting next door. If I cancel this wedding, the grant collapses. People will say I used a child for publicity and destroyed 46 libraries. Diane will make sure every event firm knows my name. Preston will say I ambushed him in public. And you will take June home to the life that already works without me. Yes, I said. The answer stopped her. Most of that may happen. Choosing June does not erase the bill for choosing against her first. You really learned romance from emergency manuals. Section 1. Locate the exit. Against all reason, she laughed. One broken sound. Then she covered her face. I did not touch her. We were past the kind of comfort that confused history with a future. I did love you, she said. I know. I love her. Then let her see what that costs you. A knock sounded. Mara stood outside with hotel counsel. She had put her access badge back on, but a red visitor stripe now crossed it. The board placed me on temporary administrative leave, she said. I am here as the approving executive and a witness. Natalie gave a hollow smile. Welcome to the consequences table. Mara looked at the flash drive. Did Preston authorize access? No. Then preserve it. But do not use material beyond what our independent audit obtained lawfully. Natalie bristled. It proves what they planned. Evidence obtained badly can still tell you the truth, Mara said. It cannot always tell a court. I watched them face each other. The woman who had approved without reading enough and the woman who had agreed without asking enough. Neither could rescue the other by being worse. Mara turned to me. The insurer accepted Alina's separation plan. The hotel will host a private ceremony without the Cole campaign, sponsor feed, or foundation announcement. Staff and vendors remain paid under the event guarantee. That is the only compliant option. Diane won't accept it, Natalie said. Then she can decline. And the charity programs. The hotel will honor tonight's pledged employee match through a separate fundraiser. We cannot replace $12 million. We can keep the immediate programs from closing while the foundation resolves its representations. Mara had found the boundary between action and rescue. It did not solve everything. It stopped pretending one wedding had to. Preston entered without knocking. He saw Natalie's bare hand. Put the ring back on, he said softly. My mother has secured the Bellwether Club. Cars are coming. We can be there in 30 minutes. Natalie looked toward the corridor where June waited. Is she invited? Preston hesitated. Only once, barely a second. It was enough. After the broadcast, he said. We bring her to the reception after the donor cameras leave. Natalie picked up the ring from the table. For one terrible moment, I thought she would put it on. Instead, she closed her hand around it and walked toward the ballroom. Natalie did not go to the bridal suite. She walked to the sponsor stage outside the ballroom, where reporters had spent the last hour filming closed doors and inventing reasons for them. Preston followed. The cars are waiting. Good, send them back. Natalie. She stepped onto the small platform and reached for the microphone. Diane moved faster than I expected. She caught the cable before Natalie could lift it. Anything you say now becomes permanent. Natalie looked at the hand on the cable. That used to be the promise. Diane released it. Alina asked the camera crews to stop recording until the hotel's counsel cleared the announcement. Half of them obeyed. The other half pointed lenses at the floor and kept their tally lights dark, which meant nothing. I kept June behind the production wall, far enough that no camera could catch her face. She could hear the stage through the monitor. Do I have to watch? She asked. No. Do I have to forgive her if she says sorry? No. Can I later? If you want. She nodded and took my hand. On stage, Natalie waited for hotel counsel to finish conferring with Mara. Mara could no longer authorize the ballroom, but she could testify to the approvals she had made. She told the lawyers she would do so publicly if necessary. The Cole trustees gathered behind Diane. Their concern was real. The merger vote was scheduled to occur during the broadcast. School administrators had planned budgets around promised funds. If the announcement died, people with no part in our family would feel it. That was the shield Diane had used all day. It was also a responsibility we could not pretend away because we disliked the person holding it. I asked Alina for the foundation disbursement schedule. The first quarter required $800,000, not $12 million. The larger figure covered 5 years and included programs not yet contracted. The hotel employee match and tonight's event guarantee cover a quarter of the immediate need, Alina said. Can we redirect the unused broadcast contingency? Not without board approval. Mara heard us. The board will approve it if the alternative is being named in the consent investigation. You're on leave, I reminded her. I can still be unpleasant by telephone. It was the first familiar thing she had said since the consultation room. I called the City Education Consortium and asked what they actually needed to keep programs open for 60 days. They did not need a wedding. They needed bridge funding, a verified pledge schedule, and permission to announce that the coal merger was under review rather than complete. Alina built the numbers. Mara called the board as a witness, not an executive. 3 hotel investors agreed to a transparent emergency match if no company branding appeared on the children's programs. It was smaller than the coal promise. It was real money rather than a stage graphic. We could not save every future library that night. We could stop the counseling vans from shutting down Monday. I wrote the terms on 1 page and brought it to Diane. This gives you 60 days to repair the merger without using June's release, I said. She read it, and in return, your foundation confirms the false campaign publicly and funds the consent audit. You are asking me to confess liability. I am offering you a way to keep children from paying for it. Her mouth flattened. You think very highly of your leverage. No, I think poorly of how you used yours. Preston took the page from her. He scanned the figures, then looked at Mara. You arranged this. Grant did, she said. The answer mattered more than it should have. Natalie still held the microphone. Are we done deciding whether I am allowed to speak? She did not wait for permission. The reporters lifted their cameras. There will be no wedding today, she said. The corridor erupted in questions. Preston climbed onto the stage. We are relocating because of a contract dispute. Natalie turned toward him. No, you are relocating. I am not marrying you. His face emptied. You do not mean that. I removed my daughter from my wedding because your family told me honesty would endanger a grant. Then I learned the plan was to remove her from every public part of our life. Diane stepped forward. This is not an appropriate forum for private material. Natalie looked directly into the nearest camera. Private material is what we called my child whenever donors were present. She took the voided credential from her pocket. June must have left it on the consultation table. Natalie held it by the gold ribbon. This was canceled by my authorization at 2:14 this afternoon. A campaign using my daughter's photograph remained active after that cancellation. Her father did not sign the release attached to it. I knew a second signature was required, and I told the agency I would handle it. I did not know they would copy one, but my dishonesty made their forgery useful. No slogans. No claim that love made the damage disappear. Just facts sharp enough to stand without decoration. Preston reached for the microphone. Natalie, stop. She moved it away. Did you know your family's 5-year plan excluded June? She asked him. His eyes flicked toward his mother. I knew there were presentation limits during the merger period. 5 years is not a period to a 10-year-old. It is half her life. We could have changed it once the merger closed. You had 90 minutes to change it today. He had no answer. Natalie removed the engagement ring from her closed fist and placed it on the podium. The Cole Foundation's programs matter. That does not make this marriage necessary, and it does not make my daughter disposable. The Sterling Grand has arranged temporary bridge support for the program scheduled to begin this quarter. I will contribute my entire event fee and cooperate with the audit. Diane's composure finally broke. You have no authority to commit foundation funds. I committed mine. Then Natalie looked toward the production wall, not at the cameras, at the place she knew June was standing. June, I am sorry I asked you to disappear so I could feel secure. You do not owe me forgiveness, a hug, or another chance today. I will keep showing up if you let me. If you don't, I will still tell the truth about why. June's fingers crushed mine. She did not run onto the stage. She did not perform a reunion for the room. She whispered, can we go somewhere without cameras? Yes. I asked Alina to take us through the service elevator. Before we left, I signed the evidence preservation notice, not the media release. The hotel posted a plain statement suspending the Cole broadcast because of consent irregularities. Staff received full event pay from the guarantee. Vendors were released with no penalties. The food prepared for 400 guests went to the planned dinner first, because the guests had not caused the harm, and the surplus went to 3 overnight shelters under our existing donation protocol. There was no triumphant shot of locked doors opening. There was work. As we reached the service elevator, Mara caught up with us. She stopped 2 steps away, respecting the space I had not yet offered back. "The board approved the bridge contingency," she said. "Elena has incident control. Hotel council will contact you tomorrow. And you. I have an investigation at 8. June looked at her. "Are you in trouble because you locked the door?" "Partly because I should have looked behind it sooner." June considered that, then held out the flower basket. "Can you keep this? I don't want Mom to see me throw it away." Mara accepted it with both hands. "I'll keep it safe." The elevator opened. Natalie stood inside alone, her wedding dress gathered over one arm. She had used the back stairs to avoid the press. June did not step in. Natalie pressed the button to hold the doors. "May I ride down with you?" she asked. June looked at me, then at her mother. "You can ride," she said. "Don't talk yet." Natalie nodded. The 4 of us descended in silence. My daughter, my ex-wife, me, and every consequence that would still be there when the doors opened. The first conversation between June and Natalie lasted 11 minutes. They met in a family counselor's office 3 days after the wedding that did not happen. I waited in the lobby. Natalie came out crying. June came out carrying the same expression she wore after difficult math, annoyed, tired, but willing to try another method. "We're meeting again Thursday," she told me. Natalie did not ask whether that meant she had been forgiven. That was the first useful thing she did. The custody schedule remained unchanged for 8 weeks. Then, at June's request and with the counselor's recommendation, Natalie began 1 dinner visit a week. No assistance. No donor calls. No promises about sleepovers until June asked for them. Natalie arrived early to the first 3 dinners and exactly on time to the 4th. June recorded every visit on a calendar above my kitchen counter. Green check marks for present, empty squares for everything else. "This isn't evidence," she informed me. I didn't say it was. "It's for me." "Then I'll stop looking at it." "You can look, just don't make the quiet face." I became aware of how often I needed to clean the kitchen. The Cole consent audit found that the agency assistant had copied my signature after a senior director forwarded Diane's note. The director was dismissed. The agency admitted liability and funded a trust for child image consent education, separate from any payment to June. My attorney negotiated damages into a protected account that could not be used by either parent. Diane remained foundation chair, but the merger board required an independent compliance officer and suspended the first household campaign. She issued a statement written by lawyers. It was not an apology. It was enough to become a record. Preston resigned from the public campaign and continued his foundation work away from cameras. He sent June a letter. She asked me to keep it sealed until she wanted it. I put it in the same fireproof box as her birth certificate and did not read it through the light. The 60-day bridge fundraiser exceeded its target in 19 days. That did not happen because the scandal made everyone generous. It happened because Elena made the budget public, teachers described the programs themselves, and the hotel removed its logo from the donation page. People could see where the money went. The counseling van stayed on the road. 23 libraries opened on schedule. The remaining districts received revised dates instead of ceremonial promises. Natalie sold the apartment she had leased near the Cole estate and used part of the money to honor her event fee pledge. She returned to work at a smaller firm that did not put her face on its proposals. She and I signed a co-parenting agreement requiring direct notice of travel, school events, and any commercial request involving June. It was less dramatic than a courtroom victory. It worked better. Mara's investigation lasted 5 weeks. The board found no personal motive in the venue suspension. It did find that executive approvals had become too compressed, and that Mara's signature appeared on annexes she had never opened. She accepted a formal reprimand, rebuilt the approval process, and gave independent compliance authority to reject sponsor packages without executive pressure. She returned as CEO, with less unilateral control than before. She called that an improvement. I agreed, which did not mean we were fine. For those 5 weeks, we spoke only through Elena or hotel counsel. My direct reporting line moved permanently to the chief operating officer. Mara did not arrange it as a romantic gesture. The board required the separation after reviewing our involvement in the incident. When she returned, she asked me to meet in the closed ballroom at 4 in the afternoon. The room looked almost ordinary without flowers, cameras, or 400 people waiting for a promise. Mara stood near the doors holding June's basket. The white roses had dried at the edges, but she had replaced the crushed ribbon. I said I would keep it safe, she told me. You did. She handed it over. I also owe you an answer that is not inside an investigation report. About the campaign approval. About why I moved so quickly once I saw June. I waited. Mara looked across the empty ballroom. When I was 14, my father used my photograph in a hotel campaign after my mother left. The caption said the company was our family. He never asked me. For years, strangers told me how brave I looked. Were you? I was furious. It photographed well. The dry answer carried more truth than a speech would have. You saw yourself in June, I said. Yes, that made me notice the harm. It also made me certain before I had checked my own part in it. Both can be true. I am learning to dislike that sentence. It's usually expensive. She met my eyes. I am sorry I let my approval become a weapon and then stood beside you as if I had only found it. Thank you. That sounded dangerously healthy. Don't worry, I still have notes. Her laugh was quiet. I had missed it more than I intended to admit in an empty ballroom. She touched the repaired ribbon on the basket, then withdrew her hand. There is a community garden opening next Saturday, she said. The Education Consortium is dedicating it to the Bridge campaign. June was invited to carry flowers, but only if she wants to. Did you ask her? I asked Natalie to ask her. Proper channels. Now you are showing off. A little. June chose to do it. The garden opening had 60 folding chairs, no sponsor wall, and one local reporter who agreed not to photograph children without separate consent. Natalie sat in the second row. She did not give a speech. She brought June's preferred strawberry cupcakes and left her phone in the car. June carried the repaired basket down a path between raised planting beds. She scattered white petals with serious concentration, then ran out halfway and began placing imaginary petals with the same care. Nobody corrected her. After the ceremony, she pulled Mara and me beside the herb garden. Are you two still mad? She asked. Less efficiently, Mara said. June looked at me. What does that mean? She wants credit for progress. Do you like her? Mara became very interested in a rosemary plant. Yes, I said. June nodded as if confirming a maintenance request. Okay. Mom says you shouldn't hide important things because they grow mold. Your mother and I may need to review metaphor safety. She said I could tell you. That mattered. Natalie had not asked June to bless anything. She had simply stopped making honesty compete with her comfort. June ran toward the cupcake table. Mara watched her go. I did not prepare for that conversation. You locked a ballroom in front of the national press. That required less vulnerability. Most fire alarms do. We stood between rows of basil and tomatoes, while volunteers folded chairs around us. Dinner, I said. Mara turned to me. Is that an operational instruction? A first date? No hotel property, no board members, no foundation money, and no one under 18 managing the conversation. Your terms are unusually strict. Experience. She considered me with the same calm attention she brought to a crisis, but there was nothing urgent in it now. Yes, she said, dinner. Across the garden, Natalie helped June cut a cupcake in half because June had decided sharing did not count if both pieces were unequal. Natalie listened to the ruling and adjusted the knife. There would be missed calls, difficult Thursdays, board meetings, and moments when old fear tried to rename itself as protection. A complete ending was not a life without another problem. It was a life where everyone finally knew which promises belonged to them. I looked down at the flower basket Mara had kept, the gold ribbon repaired but not hidden. The last time a door closed, my daughter learned she had been erased from the invitation. This time, when Mara and I walked out of the garden together, every person beside us had been invited honestly.